Space, the final frontier, the great unknown. And now, I'm gonna send a tomato up there. That's right, I'm gonna send a tomato to space. And then I'm gonna get all those seeds from that tomato and give them to you lovely people to grow. I'm gonna send a tomato to space, and you might be asking why. And the reason is 10 years ago when I first started gardening with my brother, we were just chatting with a cup of tea, and we said, wouldn't it be amazing if we sent a tomato to space? And in this video, you're going to see that journey of me trying to get a tomato to space. Now, growing seeds from space, saying space quite a bit in this video, so brace yourself. Although I should be saying subscribe. I'm sending a tomato to space, subscribe. See, sending seeds to space has been done before by astronaut Tim Peake. Now, Tim Peake was a British astronaut that basically in 2015 went to space with some rocket seeds. Then for about 6 months, he sort of just floated around with these rocket seeds and showed up on TV breakfast and telly shows floating. I mean, I'm sure he was doing more than that, but I mean, he's an astronaut, so I don't know why I'm giving him shade. Well done, Tim Peake. He brought his rocket seeds back down to Earth, handed them out to 10,000 schools, and they started growing them. And after 6 months, what did they find happened to those rocket seeds? It actually didn't help the growth. It actually slowed the growth of the rocket seeds down. It actually says here, in particular, rocket seed aging during the experiment was caused mainly by exposure to low-level ionizing radiation from galactic cosmic rays. I mean, that is probably quite dangerous, but it sounds cool. And the idea was to see if those seeds would still grow once they'd been in space. And that was back in 2015. Fast forward to 2023, and right now, SpaceX have taken tomato seeds into space. In a historic moment that could impact the future of food production, tomatoes will be grown in space for the first time thanks to new technologies. The Red Robin tomato trials, which arrived at the International Space Station on November 26th as part of the SpaceX CRS-26 cargo mission, will be grown in profile progresses. They'll be basically grown in space. And so I thought, what better time to send some to space. Oh, how many times got to say space? Finally, all the pieces of the puzzle had started to come together from that idea I had 10 years ago. I mean, Elon Musk got there before me, so he must have heard our conversation. But nevertheless, you can never have too many tomatoes up in space. He's already put the space counter there, hasn't he? So play along at home. So I've seen all these amazing YouTubers send stuff to space, and it looks amazing. So I got in touch with the amazing team from Sent Into Space. And so, even though we just started this extreme gardening series, I wrote an email to the Sent in Space team. And I've got to be honest, I didn't think they'd get back to me. But they did. A meeting was set where they run through everything that would happen to my tomato as it went to space. Then they went away, packaged it all up, and sent me the exact details of how that tomato will go to space. Now, in the meantime, I was becoming very slightly impatient. That's not like me. So then I spoke to Olive about how we could send some tomatoes to space on a budget. And so I spent a whole £6 on a helium balloon. Little did I know that from this idea that happened 10 years ago, it would bring out so much emotion, so many questions, and such a mission. And NASA, no, not NASA. So we got hold of the balloon and tried to attach the tomato to it. Unfortunately, the size of the balloon wouldn't take the weight of the tomato, so we had to come up with a plan B. And so we got the balloon and stuck some tomato seeds to the side of it. And then the idea was that it would go into space, come back down, and we'd have space tomatoes. We did decide to put a little message on there. Olive decided to put one to the aliens. So aliens could have tomatoes too. Why not? Why not? And then it was time to set off the balloon. we did a practice run in the back garden, but there just wasn't enough space to let the balloon off. And so we had to go to a restricted area. So we headed to the restricted area. Olive on bike, ready to chase the balloon down, and me on foot with a bag with a balloon in it. Not so glamorous. We entered the restricted area, headed to the highest point, and found the launch site. And I'll show you what happened in just a second, because I want to show you how to sow tomato seeds. And if you're thinking about sowing them, the best time to do that is around March time. The start of March, mid-March, absolutely perfect for sowing those seeds. And they couldn't be easier to sow. Basically, get your pot, fill it with some peat-free compost, put your seeds on top, a little, what I like to call Jamie Oliver sprinkle, and then just put them on your windowsill. As long as it gets plenty of light, a little bit of heat, and keep repotting that plant up, you'll get tomatoes. Remember, the bigger the pot, the more space your tomatoes got to grow. Then, once we've got no more frost outside, you can plant it up. Now, back to the launch. The wind was picking up. In fact, we haven't had a windy day like that for a long time. And together, as father and daughter, we started to try and launch our tomato balloon into space. The wind was just too much to handle, and we had another problem. You see, starting this YouTube channel, I want to try and always have, with what I do as Skinny Jean Gardener, to be as eco-friendly as possible. And the biggest problem with sending a helium balloon to space is it's not very eco-friendly. You see, if we sent the helium balloon up into the sky on the way to space, had it not have made space, we would have been littering, which I don't want to do. It's not good for wildlife. It's not good for our planet to be littering balloons all over the place, right? And so we made the conscious decision to tie a piece of string to the other piece of string that was attached to the balloon, and so it wouldn't just fly away into the distance. Now, I've got to say, as a video that I've done so far, this is the most fun I've had with Olive. Sending tomato to space. It's just such a great and exciting thing to do with your daughter, right? But then, disaster struck. It was such a windy day that the wind caught the balloon and got it stuck behind the tree. And as we pulled the string, a little bit like a kite, the balloon come free. And lucky for us, Olive caught the balloon. As she was trying to tie it back on, it got loose and it flew into the sky. It flew higher and higher and higher, Olive, as if it was heading to space. And then with a puncture that we previously believe was caught by the tree, it plummeted and it hit the ground. And this is where it gets difficult. We were both gutted. Not because we didn't make it to space, but because we'd done the one thing that we didn't want to do. And I turned around and Olive was upset. She sort of blamed herself for it blowing away, and it wasn't her fault, of course not. But not only that, she was upset that we didn't make it to space. But what was a video for me was a mission. In that moment, she was Tim Peake. She was upset not just for herself, but also for me, her father, who, you know, we were trying to send a tomato to space. If you've watched some of these videos already, you'll know that this is just a great way for me to communicate gardening. But in that moment, I realised for Olive and us as father and daughter, it was more than that. One thing I always say gardening does is make memories. And she felt like we'd failed. And that's something that I didn't expect to take away from this. We hopped back on the bike and decided that we would go and try and find that balloon. And for the next hour, we searched around looking for the balloon. Not only had we not got to space, we'd also ended up losing the balloon. And so, now we've tried it that way, it's time to do it the real way. That's right, me, you, Olive, are going to send a tomato to space. Not only is this a crazy idea that I want to do, but it now has become personal. I need to be the ultimate dad. And the only way to do that is by sending a tomato to space. So no pressure. If you want to help me send a tomato to space, that'd be great, because dad points. And so, this is what we're going to do. Below, right here, is a link where you can donate £20. And for that £20, you'll get a collectible card, you'll get exclusive access to the full video of the tomato going to space, which no one else will see, and, most importantly, you'll get a tomato seed from space. Now, I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get enough funds to send that tomato to space, but once we do it, everyone will get their tomato seeds. But what I will say is, hopefully, I'll be the best dad in 2023 once I send that tomato to space. I don't know what this counter says, but have I mentioned we're going to space?